Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into, well, one of the toughest, most mind-bending books in all of philosophy, Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra. And we're going to start with this riddle that Nietzsche throws at us right from the get-go. He calls it a book for everyone and nobody. I mean, what's that supposed to mean, right? How could a book be for everyone and for nobody at the same time? It sounds like a contradiction. All right, so let's tackle that first half of the puzzle, a book for nobody. I mean, think about it. Why would a philosopher, someone whose whole job is to share ideas, write their masterpiece for, well, literally no one? Well, a big part of the answer is that this book was just incredibly personal for him. Nietzsche basically poured his entire soul into it, all his pain, his loneliness, his biggest breakthroughs. He even said that reading some pages felt like looking at his own blood. So in a very real way, the book was so deeply tied to his own life that maybe only he could ever truly understand it. It's like he was writing it for himself first and foremost. So to really get a handle on Zarathustra, you kind of have to get a handle on Nietzsche the man. And to do that, you have to understand the places that inspired him. Yeah, Nietzsche wasn't your typical philosopher, cooped up in some dusty library. No way. This was a guy who thought with his feet. His best ideas came to him while he was out walking, often for hours at a time, way up in the Swiss Alps. For him, the landscape, the air, the physical feeling of the place, it was all part of the philosophy. And it was right there, in that kind of setting in August 1881, he was walking near Lake Silvaplana and came across this huge, pyramid-like rock. He later wrote that he felt like he was 6,000 feet beyond human beings in time. And bam! In that exact spot, the core idea for Zarathustra hit him like a lightning bolt. It was a total revelation. So what was that earth-shattering idea? Well, turns out it wasn't just one single thought. It was more like a whole constellation of ideas. Ideas meant to completely flip our understanding of human potential on its head. Let's break down the three really big ones. Okay, first up we have the Übermensch, which you've probably heard translated as the Superman. But we gotta be clear here. Throw any idea of a comic book hero right out the window. This has nothing to do with flying or super strength. It's a psychological goal, a spiritual one. It's about a future type of person who overcomes our current limitations and creates their own values from scratch. Nietzsche really saw the overhuman as the next step in our evolution. Just like humans evolved from earlier primates, he believed the overhuman could evolve from us. It's the goal, the entire point, the lightning, as he put it, that can flash out from the dark cloud of what humanity is right now. All right, number 2, the will to power. And wow, if there's one idea of Nietzsche's that gets twisted around, it's this one. It is not just about wanting to dominate other people or grab political power. It's something way more fundamental. He saw it as the basic drive in everything that lives, not just to survive, but to grow, to expand, to exert its strength, and really to impose its own interpretation on the world around it. And you can really see the difference here. A tyrant's power? It's all about brute force, and it never lasts. But for Nietzsche, the highest expression of the will to power was spiritual. Just think about it. People like Socrates or Jesus, they didn't have armies, they didn't rule nations, but their ideas have shaped the way billions of people think for thousands of years. They've outlasted every single empire. Now that, for Nietzsche, is real power. And that brings us to the third big idea, the one that hit him like a ton of bricks by that lake. He called it the greatest weight. This is his famous concept of eternal recurrence. But here's the key. He doesn't present it as a fact about the universe. He presents it as a thought experiment, a question designed to completely change your life. So here's how it goes. Imagine a demon creeps up to you in your loneliest moment, and he tells you this life you are now living, you will have to live it once more and countless times more. Every pain and every joy, every thought and sigh, everything exactly the same over and over and over again. Forever. So what's your reaction? Do you throw yourself on the ground and curse this demon? Or could you look it in the eye and say, you are a god, and never have I heard anything more divine? Okay, so you've got these incredibly intense, personal, really radical ideas. The question is, how did this book that was supposedly for nobody end up becoming a book for everyone? Well, its influence in the 20th century was just massive. You see it everywhere. Composers like Richard Strauss and Mahler, psychologists like Freud and Jung, philosophers like Heidegger, writers all over the world, they were all wrestling with these ideas. Zarathustra didn't just give them new things to think about. It was like a spark that ignited whole new movements in art, music, and philosophy. But we have to be honest, its legacy is complicated. It has a dark shadow, because the Nazis infamously took bits and pieces of his work, especially concepts like the Übermensch, and twisted them to justify their horrific ideology. And this is a total tragedy, because it's the exact opposite of everything Nietzsche stood for. He absolutely despised German nationalism and anti-Semitism. What's really fascinating, though, is that the book's journey went far beyond Europe. It found a huge audience in Asia. In fact, it became one of the most translated Western philosophical texts in places like China and Japan. Why? Well, it seems those core ideas about overcoming the old ways and creating new values really resonated with societies that were going through their own huge, rapid changes. And that really brings us full circle. The book that was written for nobody somehow became a book for everyone. And the reason why is that its biggest, most important question isn't just for professional philosophers. It's for you. It's for me. It's for anyone who reads it. Nietzsche leaves us with that greatest weight, that one question that turns his entire philosophy back on us, forcing us to ask, is the life I'm living one I would be willing to live again forever? So, what's your answer?